please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, go ahead.
Caller 7, someone who just arrived during the pledge, could you state your name?
Mike Hewlett, Minneapolis Star Tribune.
Thanks, Mike. Caller 8, could you as well state your name, who just arrived?
Christina Palladino with Fox 9 is also here, just to let you know.
Yeah, Christina, your name's on here. There's an unknown name. There's a caller 8 who came up.
I don't know if it's me, it's Phil Coslin.
Who was that?
Phil Coslin,
Can you spell your last name?
MCCAUSLAND.
You said Bill, correct?
Phil, Phil.
Thank you.
Okay, number 2, open public forum. Anybody wishing to address the council that is not on the agenda? If there is nobody, then we will go to number 3, approval of the amended agenda. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Doug makes motion, Shannon seconds it.
I'll second it, this is Gary.
Okay.
Gary's got it.
Oh, we're doing a roll call vote also. All those in favor, well, let's just go. Shannon,
Aye.
Gary,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Carries. Consent agenda, recommendation to approve the consent agenda as presented. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion, Gary.
Jamie makes a motion, how about a second?
This is Gary, I'll make a second.
Gary seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, all those, well, I'm going to keep on doing that. Shannon,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. Okay, number 5, presentation on screening and operational mitigation strategies at Pilgrim's Pride. Wesley Smith. You on, Wesley?
Yep, he just has, you have to unmute yourself. I don't think I muted you.
There you go.
First, I want to thank the council for letting me speak. We're grateful for the time. I'm going to read a statement that the company and I are all prepared today. During this global pandemic, our highest priority has been the health and safety of our team members who are providing food to our community and country. Pilgrim has had Cold Spring team members test positive for COVID-19, and we are working with the local health department to ensure we are doing everything we can to combat any potential spread of the virus. We are communicating directly with our team members, and we will not operate a facility if we do not believe it is safe. Today, at Cold Spring, we screen all of our team members by asking COVID-19 related health questions and temperature checking 100% of the workforce before they can enter our facility. We also provide and require face masks be worn at all times on company property. We are following all CDC and OSHA issued guidance around the safety and social distancing, and we're doing everything possible to provide a safe working environment for our team members who are providing food for all of us during these unprecedented times. We recognize that people are scared and anxious, and we are doing everything we can to keep this virus out of our facilities. We have implemented a wide range of measures to combat the coronavirus. We have these include temperature testing of all team members prior to entering our facility, including COVID-19 screening questions. These were complete on the week of April 12th. protective masks that are required to be worn at all times as of April 13th. Currently, we have over 100,000 masks available to our team members. Increasing spacing in our cafeterias, our break rooms, and locker rooms, including plexiglass dividers in common areas and on the Additionally, we are nearing completion on a permanent 4,000 square foot building, complete with climate control, microwave, vending machine for increased break room capacity. We have also constructed standalone prayer areas that allow for proper social distancing for our team members. We're promoting physical distancing by staggering our start times and breaks. We have increased sanitation and disinfection efforts, including whole facility deep cleaning every single day. This facility is verified by USDA daily as a matter of course. We have hired dedicated staff whose only job is to continuously clean our facility, including common areas beyond the production floor. We have removed vulnerable populations from our facility, offering full pay and benefits. We are requiring 6 team members to stay home from work. We have waived the short-term disability waiting periods for the team members, providing 100% preventative health care to our team members enrolled in the company's health plan. We also are offering free Live Health Online services for our team members enrolled in the company's health plan that allow for virtual doctor visits at no cost to the team member. We're educating and encouraging our team members to practice social distancing at home and in the community outside of work. We're restricting access to our facility and not allowing visitors. We are relaxing our attendance policy. Additional screening of employees who have not been at work for 5 days, regardless of the reason. Communicating the number to call for testing, to schedule testing to our team members who show any symptoms that Central Care has provided us. And, opening up our time clock in and clock out times, the window, so that our team members can practice social distancing while waiting in line. Marking the floor in the common areas with epoxy paint to show proper social distancing and 6 feet of separation. We've removed unnecessary doors in our hallways to reduce touch points. And finally, we have opened up our turnstiles, adding a security officer to verify access privileges to prevent congregation at our main entry exit. And that's what Pilgrims at Cold Spring is doing to control the spread of virus. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much. Does anybody on the council, Doug, do you have any questions?
No, none at this time.
How about Gary?
No, not at this time.
Jamie?
No questions from me, Mayor.
Shannon?
Nope, not at this time.
I don't either. Thank you very much, Wesley.
Thank you, Wesley.
Number 6, presentation on COVID-19 outbreak at Pilgrim's Pride. Natalie Ringsmuth and Mohammed Goni. Hope I got that right.
Is Natalie still on here, Mohammed?
Yes, thank you. I'm here, and Mohammed
Okay.
can go ahead and go first.
Unmute, Mohammed.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. If I go first, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Natalie, for giving me the chance to go first. It's always ladies first, so let me go first. And we have been organizing workers in that area, and the workers have much concern than what Mr. Wesley Smith has suggested. There's so many workers who are right now out of work, tested positive, and they have not been, protected from getting the virus in the workplace. And as you know, we will share the testimonials direct from the workers that all the workers got infected in their workplace, and they were not provided with the right PPEs. and the bathroom for male section is only 4. It's only 5 stalls, and one of them is out of order for 6 months, and then a couple of hundred of workers were sharing the only 4 bathroom stalls. In the cafeteria, they have done some little spacing on the tables, but there is only also 4 microwaves in the male section, and there's up to 4 to 7 workers warming their meal at one time in one microwave. The hallway is too small. Some workers were working shoulder to shoulder, and the company was not sharing the information regarding how many folks or workers got infected in the workplace. And the company also insisted not to do any mass testing for the workers. And while workers walk out of the shift on the training session, they have tested on their own through central care systems, and most of them were tested positive. The company may have done some cosmetic sort of change or measures, but right now, as we speak, we know folks who are sick, who are working, and they are being forced to work. And the company was enforcing their point system. They have been calling workers who tested positive to report to work, and some of them can, even the council members can call their neighbors, and we have their contact. And some of them who tested and have not been given the 14 days were supposed to report back to work last on the 10th of this month, while they were still sick. Family members were sick, and they are in a very difficult situation. The workers and the community at large is just simply asking for the company to take its responsibility and expose how many workers got sick in the workplace, and also close down grants for 2 weeks and do a deep cleaning like JNO and JBS in Wellington has done. And we are also requesting the council to take to help this company accountable, and they should not be running away from their responsibility and blame the workers who hundreds of them are tested positive, and now some of them are in the hospital, some of them are in a very bad situation in the homes, and they are all our neighbors and our friends and our family members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Should I go ahead and go next?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, you go next.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor and esteemed city council members for hearing us out today. You may have seen reported in the media that on Monday of this week, there were 194 cases reported at Pilgrim's Pride in Cold Spring. Just 4 days before that, there were only 83 cases, which means that have more than doubled in 4 days. And so this is the urgency we've come to you with today. We have talked as members of a community team that's working with these workers. We have talked to many workers who say things like, I am very worried, will you please help me? Today we come to you asking you as leaders of the city where Pilgrim's Pride is, will you please help the workers who come to work in your city? The demands that are being made by the workers, again, like Tony said, was that the workers would like the plant shut down for 2 weeks for cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting the whole plant. And there needs to be mass testing of all 1,100 workers, and only workers that test negative should be allowed to come back to work. When you heard what Wesley Smith from Pilgrim's Pride was saying about the measures they have taken to protect workers, we want you to be aware that some of these measures were not taken until very recently, and according to multiple testimonies we have heard from workers, some of these things are not true for all workers within the facilities. So for instance, Wesley said that the temperature testing is done, but we had heard from one worker who gave a testimony that when she did have a temp, the nurse told her that maybe it was menopause or just that time of the year, and to continue working anyway. That very night she went to St. Cloud Hospital, tested positive for COVID-19, and was unable to continue to come to work. Unfortunately, she had not worked long enough yet. She'd only been there 6 weeks. She had not worked long enough yet to get health insurance, so now she has bills from the ER and no ability to pay them. Wesley also said that PPE was provided and it is required now, but just up until a couple of weeks ago, the only masks that were provided were t-shirt material. And as you may know, this is a very dirty job. Chicken juice was getting on these, people were sweating through them. It was not enough to keep our workers safe and our neighbors safe. Also on the production floor, Wesley had mentioned that there were plexiglass dividers. According to workers that we have talked to, workers are still 2 feet apart, sometimes still arm to arm, and the only thing dividing them is a saran wrap-like divider. The whole facility is deep cleaned, as Wesley said. We talked to one of the subcontracted cleaners, and they said that there was not enough ability to clean and disinfect the whole plant as they are working. A couple more things I wanted to mention. Wesley said that 100% of preventative care to all team members that are on the company's plan was given. Recall that story I just mentioned to you. There are neighbors of ours that are going to the ER with COVID-19 because they have worked at Pilgrim's Pride and they are left with the bills to pay. Lastly, we are coming to you today to remind you, as you probably know, that Stearns County has the second highest cases of COVID-19. We are in an emergency, and we need you as community leaders to join with us and understand your role in helping to ensure that everyone in our community is safe. Yes, we are here because of what we've heard from the workers, but I'm also here as a member of Central Minnesota who has her family here, who has multiple jobs in the community, and I want our Central Minnesota neighbors to be safe, and everyone should be able to be safe at work, especially in this time of global pandemic. Thank you again for your time today, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Natalie and Mohammed, could you please, I don't think it was caught, and some people are asking what your position or role is. That wasn't mentioned when you introduced yourselves. Could you do that for me quick?
Sure. Yes. So my name is Natalie Ringsmith. I'm the director of a nonprofit in Central Minnesota called United Cloud. Both of us are part of the community leadership team that is working directly with the workers at this time, and I'll let Mohammed introduce himself.
Yes, I'm Mohammed Goli, and I'm organizer with Greater Minnesota Worker Center. As Natalie mentioned, I'm also one of the community leaders in town.
Okay, thank you. Shannon, do you have any questions for them? Either one?
I do not at this time, no.
Doug, do you?
You're muted, Doug.
You're muted, Doug.
He's talking, but he's muted.
Doug,
Doug.
you're muted. I'll send him a chat. Hold on.
Okay. While we're
back.
getting that, Gary, do you have any questions?
Oh, there we go. You were muted, Doug.
Go ahead, Gary, go first. No, I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, Doug, how about you again?
Yeah, question for maybe Natalie or Mohammed. I know you said you had testimony and stuff. Have either of you had the opportunity to go into the plant to see if the measures that we had heard in the first testimony are in place versus just the testimonies?
What I can say is that the last point in Wesley's testimony that we got here anyway was that they are not allowing visitors in the plant at this time as part of the protective measures. So I have not personally. Mohammed, do you want to weigh in on that?
I actually was in the plant parking on while the workers called me and they wanted to walk out of the plant. and that was 120 workers. Unfortunately, my car had a mechanical problem, and one of the workers gave me a ride, and in the morning he was actually tested positive. And the stories, and also I have tried to find out what mask they are using. It's just a small piece of cloth. Some of them have even shared with me some videos, and they were working shoulder to shoulder. So if anyone has to go to the front, I think the workers themselves have some leaders, and they can, and with the community leaders, can actually go in there and see. But the council members, the mayor, and anyone can talk to the workers on one-on-one, and listen from their viewpoint what was going on in the plant.
Jamie, do you have any?
Thank you.
Jamie, do you have anything?
Nothing for me, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for presenting that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council.
Yes.
Okay, number 7, review of the 2019 audited financial statement. Nancy Schulzenberg from Bergen KDV Auditor.
Okay, Nancy, I'm about to make you presenter.
Okay, then I'm gonna share my screen with all of you.
Okay.
Hello.
Do you have control? Yep, there we go. I'm gonna
I think so.
let's see if I can make it bigger. There. Okay.
All right, can everyone see that now?
Yes.
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 All right.
Nancy, can you move your mouse down so Nancy, can you move your mouse down so the mic and the camera screen and leave won't be, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for giving me some time tonight to go over the results of our audit. I did put the highlights in this presentation so that we don't have to spend too much time going through those larger books.
Can you make
I'm
that
having a
go?
little trouble. There we go. All right. Is my mouse in the way again?
Nope, you're
Are we
good.
okay?
You're good.
Okay, all right. So first and foremost, it's our responsibility as your auditor to issue an opinion on your financial statements. So the financial statements themselves are management's responsibility, and we were responsible for, like I said, issuing that opinion. And what we're giving the city of Cold Spring for the year ended December 31st, 2019 is an unmodified opinion, or the best opinion that we as your auditor can offer. It basically is an indication that everything is fairly stated based on of our audit. So in addition to that opinion letter, we do have several other reports that we issue. The first one has to do with government auditing standards. So because of some of the funds that you receive from the federal government and local governments, we're required to look at your internal control and then also look at compliance with regulations, grants, contracts, those types of things. Based on that, we did have the one internal control finding that you're used to seeing, the lack of segregation of accounting duties. Simply there, based on the number of people that you have in your finance office, there are some overlaps. So not something that we're saying you have to correct, but something that you as the council need to be aware of and paying attention to things a little bit closer because there are some overlap duties. But again, same finding as in prior years and what you've seen as long as I've worked with the city. And then also we did not have any compliance findings related to those government auditing standards. And then the last official report that we issue is the report on Minnesota legal compliance. So the Office of the State Auditor gives a list on an annual basis that covers 5 categories of legal compliance: deposits and investments, claims and disbursements. We take a look at your indebtedness. We look at contracting and bidding, miscellaneous things. And based on that, we had no findings again this year. And then we issue a communication letter, which includes required communication and financial analysis. And the financial analysis we'll go over on the remainder of the slides. And the required communication really are things that our standards require us to put in writing to you as the governing body. It would be our tool if we had anything that was significant that we uncovered, or if we had any difficulties or disagreements with management. And I'm happy to report that we had none of that, and everything in that section of the communication letter is our standard template verbiage. So a clean bill of health, if you will. Moving on then to the financial information, the first chart that I want to look at takes a look at your tax capacity, your levy, and your rates over the last 5 years. In the middle, that grayish line, that's your taxable tax capacity. You can see that has consistently gone up every year. It's up about 926,000 since 2015 and up 465,000 since 2018. So a nice increase there. And that's important when you look at the bottom line, the green there, that's your tax levy. That has also been increasing overall, about 156,000 since 2015. But because of the significant increase in that tax capacity, the tax capacity impact was able to decrease. So you're down 6.89% at the end of 2019. Moving on then to take a look at your general fund, where most of the operations of the city are housed. The first chart at a very high level takes a look at total revenues, total expenditures, and fund balance at the end of the year. And you can see in each of the 5 years that we're looking at, your revenues have exceeded expenditures, allowing for an increase in fund balance. So for 2019, that fund balance went up about $142,000 for the year. And we'll dig into the details of the revenues and expenditures on the next couple of slides. So starting with the revenues, revenues overall up about 1.7%, so pretty close to where you were last year and even 2017. But there were some variations in the categories. So if we look to that, miscellaneous, a large increase of all of them, and that's the red portion on the top of the bar. And the basic reason for that is an increase in investment income. And I wanted to point that out because that's an unusual increase and probably one that won't last. So typically you purchase your investments and you hold them to maturity, and you know the value you're going to get plus the interest that you earn. But every year, as an accounting function, we're required to report them at fair value. So the fair value fluctuates, and 2019 was a very good year for fair value. So at the end of the year, that increased. You'll see an offsetting decrease in the years going forward to get it back to the face value. And that's just, again, an accounting function that we're required to use. Other categories also saw some fluctuation. Your charges for services and your licenses and permits were both down. You had unusually high years in 2018 with some significant commercial permits and development in the city for that year. And then taxes and assessments up about $77,000 with the increase in the levy. On the flip side of the revenues, you'll see the expenditures. Those were actually down about 6%, so we're getting pretty close to the operations of 2018. And like revenues, some fluctuations between the categories. So there was a fairly sizable increase in your public safety, up about $104,000, and that's your largest spending category, so you would expect to see the largest increase there. Most of that was cost of living increases and health insurance increases in the police department. And then two categories of decreases. First of all, that public works. There was a loader purchased in 2018. And then in culture and rec, there was the promenade that was built. So both of those capital related, not consistent expenditures, accounting for the decrease there. And then your general government, pretty consistent with the previous year. So the next slide puts together all of that information and compares it to what you had planned for a budget. So if we look to the very bottom, you can see that initially your budget planned for an increase in your fund balance. It was modified, decreasing revenue and also decreasing expenditures. And then you had anticipated a small decrease. You actually outperformed that budget and increased the fund balance by $142,000. If we look at, we go back up to revenues and we look at the variances, revenues were about 2% over budget, so pretty good, pretty close. And you'll see an over budget in the miscellaneous revenues. Again, that's the investment income, so conservative budgeting there. And then offsetting that was an under budget in the property taxes. The EDA levy is budgeted in the general fund and then quoted directly into the EDA fund, so accounting for that variance. If we look at the total expenditures, those were under budget, about 3.3%. So again, pretty close to what you had anticipated. And the largest variance coming in that public safety. So we talked about how public safety expenditures increased, but those wage and benefits increases were less than what you had anticipated. So resulting in most of that variance in the expenditures. So again, overall, exceeded the budget by $143,000. So a positive budget year. And this next slide, I apologize, we have no definitions for the bottom two lines, but the very bottom line is going to be your fund balance policy. So you have a policy that requires a minimum of 50% of your operating expenditures be in your unassigned fund balance. The next line up, the blue one, is going to be that unassigned fund balance. So you can see that you are definitely meeting that minimum, and that unassigned fund balance is increasing each of the years. The two lines on the top, the first one is the cash balance on the very top, and then your fund balance total on the bottom. You do have some funds set aside for specific purposes, allowing for that change between the total fund balance and the unassigned fund. So all of those heading in the right direction in a positive. Any questions on the general fund?
For me.
Okay.
Good for me.
Yes, Doug, I have done.
Okay, then we'll move on to the enterprise funds. First one is your water fund. This fund saw an increase in your operating revenues, about 13%, so a nice increase. Also an increase the previous year, so the right trend when we're looking at operating revenues. There was an increase in the usage by the brewery is primarily what's accounting for that change this year. Operating expenses were also up, and that had a lot to do with purchases of water meters. So kind of a one-time thing, not a recurring annual expense. But overall, you did report operating income in this fund. And we look at operating income in two ways. So the two bars to the right show operating income with and without depreciation. And we like to show that because depreciation is a non-cash expense. So you can kind of see the cash flow of the fund when we subtract that out. So a nice increase in the overall operations of the fund. And the net position on this slide, it is the equity, if you will, of the fund. And overall, an increase there as well, about $118,000. But the thing to look at in this fund, since 2016, the unrestricted, or that bottom portion of the bar, has been decreasing. And this is theoretically what you have available to spend. So the top portion represents your capital assets, less depreciation, less any debt that's remaining, used to construct those assets. And that number is decreasing, so you want to see that as well. But it kind of shows that heavy activity that's been going on in this fund in the last couple of years. So we're just recommending you keep an eye on that and make sure that your fees are covering all costs of the fund. Moving then to sewer operations. 2018 saw an unusually high year for operating revenues, so you do see a decrease in the operating revenues of almost $400,000 for the year. There were several connection fees that went along with that commercial development last year. Those didn't repeat in 2019, and then also less usage by the brewery on the sewer fund, so an opposite of what you see in the water fund. Your operating expenses did actually in this fund as well, and you were able to report just under $1.2 million in operating income, including that depreciation. And again, here we show both perspectives to show how much you're covering that non-cash expense. And you're covering all of it, so that's good. And when we look at the net position of the sewer fund, you can see positive operations each and every year for the last 5. So overall, total is up about $4.2 million. And the good news is that unrestricted portion, which was available to spend for the future, is up about $2.9 million. And that's important in the sewer fund. There's heavy capital in this fund and big needs, and there will be going forward. So it's good that there's some funds being saved for the future there. And then your last enterprise fund is your stormwater fund. Consistent increase in your operating revenues each year, which is good. And for 2019, a small decrease in your operating expenses, allowing for operating income with and without depreciation this year for the first time since 2016. So that appears to be headed in the right direction. And that is what I have. Any questions?
This is Doug, I have none.
This is Gary, I have none.
All right.
This is Jamie, I don't have any.
Shannon?
Nope.
I don't either.
Okay. Well, thank you, and I'd like to thank Bridget and Chris and the team for being well prepared for the audit. It went very smoothly as usual.
All right,
right.
I'm gonna
Thank
read a
you.
recommendation to approve the 2018
No,
audited.
2019. I'm sorry, there's a typo. It should say 2019.
Oh, yeah, we are 2019, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it again. To approve the 2019 audited financial statement as presented. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
This is Gary.
Shannon.
Motion to approve.
Shannon made a motion to
I'll second.
approve. Jamie seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, Shannon,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so it carries unanimously. Thank you, Nancy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You too.
Thanks,
All right. Yep.
Then we'll move on to number 8, Alexander Park update and request to participate with financing remaining construction costs pending pledge collection. Tom,
Okay, thank you.
hi.
Should I turn this on?
Yeah, turn that on. You flip it up. No, you flip it up.
Flip it up.
Yep.
Okay,
And now just
can
speak
everybody
into
hear
it.
me?
Speak really close to it.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Okay, I'm set. Well, what we're asking is, we're building this park and we have 5-year pledges coming in. Well, the park is going to be finished hopefully in July, before July, by June sometime, and we have to pay all the bills, but we still have 3 years of pledges coming in. And that total, that total of pledges would be about $300,000 that we have to pay that we aren't going to have. And talking with Cold Spring, and they said that they'd be willing to split that, where they would pay half if the city would carry the other half. And as the pledges come in, we would pay back Cold Spring and we'd pay the city back, 50-50. We should get in 2021, next year, there would be $125,000 coming in pledges. We'd give the city $62,000, we'd give Cold Spring $62,000. And in 2022, would be close to the same. We'd give you $64,000, we'd give Cold Spring $64,000. And in 2023, it'd be $23,500 we'd give back to each one of you to pay the $150 that we're going to be asking you people to pay in advance. Now, what happens if people don't pay us and we're short? That's going to be a problem. And the other problem that we aren't sure how it's going to work is 2020. With the virus going around, we don't know. Some companies are closed and there's some are working. So that's the pledge that we should be taking in this year is $250,000 roughly. So what I'm going to do is, I went and asked them for the money, so I'm going to go talk to each one of the companies that gave us a pledge and see what their situation is. Are you going to be able to pay us? And if not, set up a payment plan where they can pay it, in the next coming years. But by looking through the list, most of them, a lot of them are working. So we're feeling we're going to get a lot of the pledges, especially if I go around and talk to them. So that's going to take care of through 2020, and then we have the remaining balance. If I can collect $251,000 from the pledges that are out there, It's going to be $300,000 that we're going to need to pay off the work that's being done in the park. So we're asking the city for 150, and we're asking Cold Spring for 150. Interest-free money is what we're looking for.
Okay.
And now, you know, if go back into, so far, we are in the black, okay? We everything that's being done in the park, we have covered. Now, there might be something that's going to come up that we didn't know about that we're going to have to cover. But let's say that we didn't collect enough money, okay? Our plan then is when we open the park, and if we have a concert at the park and money is being generated by having this concert, the money that's being generated would be used to pay off the debt of the park.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that is our backup plan if we run out of money. Okay, because what's happening is to stay in the black, we have a couple phases that we're not doing. Okay, so our goal is to pay off everything, the work that's done. And then when there's activities in the park that are going to generate money, we want to use that money, set it aside, and use that money to do the other phases so they can get done. Okay, so that's how we're planning on paying it back.
Okay.
Any questions from anybody on the begging for some funding?
Begging for money. You guys got anything? Doug?
I have nothing.
How about Jamie?
I don't have any questions, just a comment. I appreciate all the hard work that they're doing out there. I've been driving up there every day to take a look, and, you know, I think it's going to be a really awesome and exciting thing for this city. So I appreciate all the work you guys have been doing.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Gary, you got anything?
No, I don't.
All right. Then I'm going to read a recommendation. How about Shannon? Sorry, Shannon.
No, that's okay. I was just going to add, as Jamie has, is that it does look amazing. Every time I drive by, I'm more excited and more excited to see it coming together. So,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we're getting excited too, as it is
getting
finally
to look
getting
really
some
nice.
progress,
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
where you're working and working, you aren't seeing anything, so thank you.
It really is.
Thank you.
So.
All right. I'll read the recommendation. To approve the request to participate in financing the remaining construction costs pending pledge collection. I need a motion on that.
This is Gary, I'll make a motion.
Gary makes a motion. How about a second?
This is Jamie, I'll second.
And Jamie seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, Shannon,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to go on to the steps going down to the river. Does
Yeah.
everybody have?
I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna go get what it looks like for
Okay.
everybody to see.
Okay,
This-
wait 1 minute. Yeah, yep.
Let me go
I got
here.
pictures.
USB. Okay.
Well, Bridget's in that ready. I can talk, they'll still hear it, Bridget?
Yep.
Okay. What's happening is the city had purchased 2.8 acres. And that land goes up to the tar trail, the Riverwalk Trail. Well, anything on the east side is city property, okay? It really isn't the 2.8 acres part of the park. But what we'd like to do, the park committee, is fix that area up. Okay, right now it's pretty hard for the city to maintain the grass and stuff along there because just the way it's sloped and things. And in close to the Main Street, in that corner, are a bunch of rocks. And I had John Stevie and Pete Weber out there, our committee did, and we looked at it. And what we'd like to do as the park committee is dig out those rocks, fill it in with black dirt, and add some more black dirt between the tar and that wall. And so they can easily cut it. Now, we'd build that wall up. It was, their suggestion was that they didn't want to have the ground come even with the wall where somebody could fall off. So we would extend it, we'd extend the blocks about 2 feet higher than what the
Okay.
grass is. So nobody could take a bike and run off of it or you know, have that happen. So they were out there, they liked the idea, they said they and you can ask John and Annette, they approved what we were doing, okay? But on the other hand, we want to make it safer to walk down to the water, okay? As you know, we tried to get a permit to do both sides, you know, to put in a fishing pier and do both sides. Well, with what the DNR was asking us to do, and with Stantec, you know, getting involved because they have to do the permit would have cost us $31,000. Well, that kind of that threw it out. So we're kind of forgetting about the east side until next phase, okay? But we'd like to do something on the west side because it's connected to the park. So we looked at how can we get some steps down, and when I had talked to the DNR, they said we can do anything with the wall we want, we can't go closer to the water. Okay, now that's verbal, okay? What they had told me.
Okay.
So we had people out there looking at the steps, and John was there and Pete, and we came up with this design. And now one thing that Bridget had brought up is Stantec was thinking the rocks in the front. Do you have photos for them
Yeah, they're right up there.
that they can see?
Yep.
Okay, if I point to them, can they see them?
I can do it with my mouse. So
Okay,
these ones
right
here.
in that area. Bridget's thinking, or they were thinking that we're coming closer to the water. Those rocks are in place.
Right.
Okay? What we want to do is, if you look at
These rocks right here.
at this one right here,
Yep.
if I may say, right here,
Yep.
those are the two rocks. This rock right here sticks out further than this one.
Yep.
So we would go from this angle to that angle and not come any closer to the water.
Right.
And there would be 2 steps put in here, okay? And that you can see on the photo.
I can go to the next
And then it would, then, the steps that you see are added stones. All the bigger ones are rocks, that are stones, are granite slabs that are already there. We're adding steps in between it. So we're
Okay.
trying to make it a lot safer for people to walk down. And what's nice about this opportunity, we can do it now with Cold Springs' help, okay, to complete this side of the park. Now, I'm not saying we're going to have that help on the other phases, okay? So we're asking for the approval from the city to let us put these steps in, okay, to make it safer to walk down. We'd add boulders on top of the ones that are there,
Okay.
so it's higher than what the grass is. So they'd be about, you know, I'm saying 2 feet, it can be 20 inches to 30 inches depending on the block. And then we'd have the grass slope down to it from the tire slope down to it, so the city could cut the grass. And then when we get on the other side of the tar path towards your fishing pier that you're putting in, we'd also add those same blocks there so nobody could fall over that end, okay? So now we can get that done now with no cost to the city, if you guys approve that, okay?
Okay.
But,
No cost to the city now or no cost to the city ever?
okay, well, we would complete this job,
Right,
okay? And then we're going to give it to you.
right.
Now, what happens afterwards?
The maintenance would be
Yeah,
up to
you
the
know-
city.
Maintenance would be up to
Right,
us.
right.
Yes.
So that's where we're at.
Okay.
And you want an approval tonight?
Well, I'm asking for approval so we can get going on
Yeah,
it
yeah,
and
yeah.
get the slabs made and put them in. Right.
Yeah,
So-
so I can jump in here. Part of the issue is the development agreement that we have with River Park Foundation
Yep.
is it identifies the parcel, and this is a different parcel. So this isn't the same PIN number as the one that the Alexander Park's in. So it's not covered by that agreement. So that's why Tom's
Right.
here to have permission to work on
Okay,
this
okay.
parcel as well.
And then, do we have to talk to the DNR about this parcel at all, as long as
I have
we're
to
in-
just verify the flood, and I will do that when they ask for permitting. The only issue might be whether those two steps that connect those two rocks, the
Right.
ones here, if they change the flow of the river, we might have an issue. So Brian and I can look into that before
Okay.
you start.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm speaking for you, Brian. Is that all right?
That's all right.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion on,
This is Doug.
yes, go ahead, Doug.
I'll make a motion to have the foundation go ahead with it, bearing no problems with the DNR on changing the water flow.
All right, Doug makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second that motion.
Jamie seconds it. Is there any discussion on it? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon, sorry.
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Now I have a couple more things. Can I?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. One is, it was requested by the city that we add a water heater and that we put sprinklers in the boulevard. Okay? That's not in our budget. I'm just, okay. The water heater from Gilk, they told us would be about $800 and we have to wire it. Run wire to it and wire it, so be under $1,000. The sprinkling system, to put it in the boulevard, would be $1,500. So I'm here to discuss that. I'm seeing if that's something, if the city wants it, if they want to pay for it, or
What's the
what?
water heater for the bathrooms?
Well, what they had said, which was a good point, and they didn't talk to me on it, they talked to somebody else on the committee on it, and she had reported to me, so I said I'd bring it up at this meeting, and which was a good point for cleaning the bathrooms, like spraying the floor off. They said it'd be better having hot water. And, you know, you can't argue that. But, you know, if you go to restrooms, they don't have hot water. We never thought about putting in hot water.
Oh.
I guess we talked about it. We said, no, we didn't need it. But now, as we're talking, you know, they're saying, gee, it'd be nice to have hot water. Well, yeah, it would be, you know. But, so, one problem we might have is the room in that, where we have all the fittings and stuff, there isn't a lot of room, but the price at $800 was for like a 15-gallon water heater that would be mounted up on the wall somehow,
Oh,
you
okay.
know. But it would be 800 plus wiring, under $1,000, you know, so we're talking another $2,500 in things that we'd add to the park with the boulevard and
Who required that, or who requested that?
I don't.
John and Pete.
Oh, okay.
They're the ones we've been talking to make
I
sure.
just hadn't.
Yeah, no,
heard
okay.
that,
Yeah, no, it was just brought up a couple days ago, you
Okay.
know? And, you know, the water heater would be nice, you know, the boulevard sprinkling, yeah, it's nice, but it's $1,500, you know? So, I mean, that's something that, you know, you can discuss with them and get back with us on it, you know? And the other thing I'd like to bring up is put a little plug in for the fence. You know, like when we built the park, you people were kind enough to cut out a lot of the street lights because we didn't have the budget to put them in. And we were going to put in cheaper lights, and you asked us to go with the more expensive lights to match the city, and we did. You know, we decided, yeah, you're right, that we should match. It makes it a lot nicer. Well, now you guys are putting a fence on that fishing pier. And I think our committee's opinion is it'd be nice if that fence matched the fence that we have in the park. because it's right next to the park. And John had brought it up at the last meeting, you're going to discuss it this meeting. I'm just trying to put a plug in to get it to match. So it all, the fishing pier also ties in with the park. Okay,
We did discuss that, yeah.
Yeah.
so
And that's it.
that is really all I have. And I want to thank you for letting me come here, and thank you for
Yeah.
covering the
Thank you.
payments till
Yeah.
it's done, but
Thank you guys for everything you guys
Yeah,
are doing
thanks
out
for the
there.
hard work.
That's great. It's
Yeah.
really looking nice out there.
yeah, thank you. Anybody have any questions or anything?
Doug, you got anything? Yes, go ahead, Doug.
Tom, you were broke up when you were talking about the sprinkler systems in the boulevard. What's the cost on that?
$1,500.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Do we want to,
Do we put it on a future?
Yeah,
do we,
put it on the-
we can put it on the next meeting?
Yep.
All right.
the water
Um,
heater in the sprinkler, right?
Yeah. Jamie, you got anything for Tom?
No, nothing for me, Mayor.
All right. How about Gary?
No, I don't.
Shannon, you got anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
We're good then. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Dave,
Yes, go ahead, Doug.
I got one follow-up question for Tom, I guess.
Okay, go ahead.
Tom, when are the other sprinklers, the sprinkler system being installed?
Well, they're working on the sidewalks now, and he wants to get started in the next couple weeks. I don't have the exact date. Jason been working with them, and I did meet with them when they're out there, but the sidewalks have to be in. And he's worked, the sidewalks, about a third of the sidewalks are in. He's going to be back there tomorrow if it's not raining, so he's going to want to wrap up the sidewalk. So that is a good question, because I don't know if we can wait 2 weeks to find out.
Well, there is a special meeting, there is the special meeting on Wednesday next week at 6 for the bond sale, so we could add that as an agenda item on Wednesday.
Would that be too late?
Yeah,
The
no,
20th?
Wednesday would be perfect.
Ne-
If we
the
know
20th?
next week, that'd be great.
6:30, I'm sorry, the special meeting's at 6:30. No,
The special meeting is at 6:30?
next Wednesday,
Oh,
right
okay.
before planning.
Oh, okay.
You
Would
know,
that be all right,
just-
Doug?
What was that?
Did you get that, Doug? That,
Yes, sir. Yes, I did, thank you.
okay,
You know, the water heater is something that could be added anytime.
that's just mounted on the wall, right?
Yeah, that
It's-
would be mounted,
yeah.
you know, we don't know
The
exactly.
electrician just run a wire there, that's not a big deal.
Right, there is a
Yeah.
power box on the outside, they could run
Okay.
a wire to it.
Okay.
So, right, that could be added.
Yeah,
But the sprinkling system should be, if
Should
you
be.
want it, should be added, should be added now.
and we might as well look at both of them next week. I mean, just figure out where we're gonna get it if we're gonna do it.
And we're still planning on opening in July if everything works,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, good. Hopefully everything's open by July,
Yeah.
so they can
Excited.
use it.
Hopefully, yeah.
Thank you, everybody, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 9 then. Resolution 2020-25. A resolution approving a contract for private development with Cold Spring Brewing and Scannell Properties.
This resolution you received yesterday, it lists the main term items, the section headings of the development agreement that is in the works with Scannell and Cold Spring as the leasee and leaseor of the TIF district. So this is related to the TIF district. Most of the terms are complete, and in this resolution, it asks for you to, once the terms are finally, all the documents ready for signing, that the mayor and I sign it when it's ready.
Okay. Recommendation to approve 2020-25, a resolution approving a contract for private development with Cold Spring Brewing Company and Scannell Properties, number 427 LLC. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Shannon makes a motion, sorry. Go ahead, Gary.
I'll second that.
All right, Gary seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, Shannon,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. Number 10, Resolution 2020-23, Supply and Use Agreement with Cold Spring Brewing for raw water and segregated sewer lines construction.
Yes, this is the agreement for the new water lines that we're running that will feed both brewery plants eventually and the sewer that will take them off of our domestic sewer, or our city sewer, and have their own dedicated line. These agreements are just for those infrastructures. Inside that agreement, when you were reading it, there's going to be another agreement for when the pretreatment plant, where the sewer will gather before it goes into our existing wastewater plant at domestic strength. That will come hopefully by July, I believe, is what the date is that agreement needs to be ready for your signature and for Cold Spring Beverages signature. So this is for the water and sewer lines themselves.
Okay, recommendation to approve Resolution 2020-23, approving of the brewery sanitary sewer and water system improvements supply agreement with Cold Spring Brewing Company. I need a motion on that.
This is Doug, I'll make that motion.
Doug makes a motion. How about a second?
This is Jamie, I'll second.
Jamie seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, Shannon,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. And we'll go on to number 11. Easement with Ricori Trail.
So part of the Alexander Park that Tom was talking about, there's one of the sidewalks connects to the trail, the existing trail, and crosses over onto their property. And in that area of about 35 feet is where a bike rack will be and a bike repair station that's available for anyone in the park or on the trail. And so the Ricori Trail at their meeting last week approved providing an easement to the city of Cold Spring for those two structures so that we have access to go maintain them, fix them if there's anything wrong. And so this is asking for the city to accept the easement.
All right. Recommendation to accept the easement with the Ricori Trail Construction Board to allow for the placement of a bike rack and repair station on trail property for connection and access from Alexander Park. I need a motion on that.
This is Gary, I'll make a motion.
Gary makes a motion. How about a second?
This is Doug, I'll second it.
Doug seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, Shannon,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. Okay, number 12. Discussion regarding supporting local businesses. Letter to Governor Walz and Resolution 2020-24. Okay, I got a phone call from a couple of bar owners in town, and they want to open up. And I kind of told them we'll see once what we as a city can do. And this is what we came up with, was a letter. There's other cities that did similar letters writing to the governor that we support our local businesses and we'd like to try to figure out a way to get them opened up as soon as possible. So you guys got the letter?
Yeah.
So I will read that recommendation. Recommendation to authorize the mayor send the letter to Governor Walz recommending the development of a strategy to open up Minnesota's small businesses. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
Shannon makes a motion. How about a second?
This is Jamie, I'll second it.
Jamie seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, Shannon,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
how about Gary?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That motion carries. Thank you guys very much. And then, number 13.
Nope, you got another
Nope.
resolution.
Oh, we got another one. Sorry. Almost missed that one. Recommendation to approve Resolution 2020-24, a resolution supporting local businesses. I need a motion on that.
Oh, Gary, you're on mute.
Gary's muted, but I'll say, okay.
Sorry, I was trying to be quiet. This is Gary, I'll make a motion.
All right. Gary makes the motion, and Doug seconds it. Any discussion on that? Otherwise,
If I could have just a quick second.
yes, go ahead.
I just want to say that having been at Costco, at Walmart, at Target, at Cashwise, and other various large places over the last 2 to 3 weeks, I don't see any reason why local small businesses can't enforce and have the same safety policies that these big box stores are doing. And even better, I think they would do it being that they're local businesses. So I'm 100% in support of sending this letter and asking the governor to help us get our small businesses back open.
Thank you very
That's
much.
all.
I agree 100% with you, Jamie.
As do I.
Jamie, don't forget about the big box candy store that they opened up.
Yeah.
I haven't been there yet, so.
We're gonna take all the recorded graduate students down there to have the ceremony.
There you go. All right, now any other discussion? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. All right, number 13, Public Works Director Report. John Stevie.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, and Brian's right next to you on the screen, too.
That's funny. It's like you guys are sitting by each other.
All right, so the first thing I have on my report tonight is the lift station pump. Pretty straightforward. It's for lift station number 1. Minnesota Pump Works was a little bit, $13,425.44. So looking for approval.
All right.
Just that.
All right, recommendation to approve the purchase of a 20-horse pump for Lift Station 1 from Minnesota Pump Works at a cost of $13,425.44, and furthermore, to be paid out of wastewater department budget equipment line item 6311. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jamie makes a motion. How about a second? Doug?
This is Doug, I'll second it.
All right, Doug seconds it. Any discussion? Otherwise, Jamie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. All right, John.
All right. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't get a picture of a pump for you, Shannon. Fish and pier fence, as Tom said, we discussed last week at the council meeting. I ended up talking to the guy from Darwin. Sent him over the specs we need. Talked to him about it. He sent me back the specs. I think I shared it with Bridget to show you guys. Attach it to my report so you can see what the fence looks like. Very pleased with it.
It's in here.
It's gonna follow, building code as far as the spindle width, things like that. So basically looking for approval, for 162 feet of decorative metal fencing, to match the fishing pier. We found we'll pay for it out of the Parks Capital Expenditures 6413. If you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them. As of right now, May 26th, the week of May 26th is when they will be pouring the concrete out there, so, we got a little bit of time.
Okay.
We figured it would take about a month to get the fence once we ordered it, so it could all work out real well with the timing.
All right. Okay, I'll read the recommendation. Recommendation to approve the purchase of 162 feet of decorative metal piping from Kerbin Metalworks at a cost of $96 per foot for a total cost of $15,633, and furthermore to be paid out of Parks Department budget line item capital expenditures number 6413. I need a motion on that.
This is Doug, I'll make that motion.
Doug makes a motion. How about a second?
This is Jamie, I'll second.
Jamie seconds it. Any discussion on it?
Well, I had a question. Is this the one that matches?
It's the metal.
It's the metal, it matches the park. Okay,
Okay.
just making sure.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I got
Yes.
2 questions for John.
Okay.
John, first off, how much difference in our what was budgeted for that railing is it? And is there enough money in that fund to pay for it?
Chris and Bridget took care of that part of it, and there was, probably a third of it is paid for out of that budget, and 2/3 has come up with out of, I believe they, pulled it out of a different, line item. Bridget, if you wanna speak to that point,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
The money in reserve would be the difference. There's 20, let's see, it was 25,000 and the other one was 2150, so whatever that is left, 2350. And then the rest would come from reserves. So about 13,000, yep.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, we will vote. Shannon?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Gary?
I am a relative of Servine Metalworks, so I will abstain.
Gary abstains. And I'm a yes. So motion carries. Okay, John, next.
Just a little update. I want to let you guys know I publish a consumer confidence report as I do every year in the Cold Spring Record. So if you see that, don't be alarmed. It's just a standard MDH policy that I have to do before July. So.
All right. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right. Then we'll go.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks, John.
You guys.
Okay, we'll move on to number 14, City Engineer Report. Brian Lynchen.
Mr. Mayor and Council, can you hear me?
Yes.
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 We'll start with County Road 158. Utility work is, we're still working on it. We started on the east end of the project near Red River, working our way west. The goal is to get all the utilities done in one section so that they can start building the roadway, putting in the curb, and then kind of work in sections on their way west. So finishing up utilities in that kind of that first couple, 3 blocks. And then work on the county portion, really then from 14th to the west over the hill and down towards the granite company that's starting as well, starting on basically doing the dirt work of that section and the widening. So, are there any questions on 158?
No.
Nope.
All right. We can move on then to water treatment plant. We're still meeting every 2 weeks with the city staff and Stantec staff to go through. We're working through a lot of the finer points of the plant right now. So, any questions on the water plant?
I'm
All right. We'll summarize the wells 8 and 9 projects all kind of in one here. The drilling is, we have both of our wells in the ground. We've done the well development. It turned out well. Working on this week the test pumping. So our first indication, at least from the development of one of the wells, was that we were going to have towards the upper end of the capacity that we were hoping for. So we don't have any final results on the test pumping yet. Should be finished up this week, and we'll have a better idea of what sort of capacity that well field actually has. Related to that, we started on the last week started pipe work on the water main portion. So we're up to the well field on the east end. We've got the directional bore under the wetland. By the end of today, they had anticipated being out of the farm fields, and by the end of tomorrow, weather permitting, they're hoping to have almost everything on the east side of County Road 2 completed.
Oh, wow.
So the directional drill and the casing under County Road 2 is also already in place. So then just the portion on the west side of 2 over to the distribution center. So they're moving along at a very good clip.
Yeah, good.
That project is moving along. And then as it relates to the pumps and controls and everything else on the project, the big thing we were waiting for was the test pumping results. Once we have those, then we can actually start sizing the pumps, sizing the motors, developing the site plans, designing the overhead power for those size motors, etc. So really kind of that last piece is coming into play here. So that's the update on wells 8 and 9. Are there any questions on that?
I have none.
Nope.
All right. The sanitary sewer and water system improvements, as we've talked about, basically the segregation of the sewage for the brewery, ultimately that will go to the pretreatment, including then also a water line from our new one that we just talked about down to the downtown facility. So we're actively working on basically the route layout for that. Met with Public Works staff today to go over some of the finer points of the route. So we're still looking at the best ways to get a couple of large pipes through some congested areas. So that work is ongoing.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any questions on that. All right, and then last item I had was really kind of that final piece of the brewery projects is the industrial wastewater pretreatment. So taking that segregated wastewater, so we want to keep it separate from the domestic waste. So that's the point of the sewer systems and the lift station upgrade. Getting it over to the treatment, the wastewater plant area, and then constructing the industrial wastewater pretreatment. So really a facility that's designed to take a specific waste, in this case alcohol and sugars are the predominant waste components, specifically tailor a treatment process to those, take that waste down to a domestic type strength, basically that we can then run through the current wastewater plant for to be able to finish the treatment process on it. So it's really taking that high strength waste and knocking it down to a waste or a level that our wastewater plant can handle. So I've included in my packet a scope for the conceptual design. This is really the more detailed study of the preferred treatment method. We had done a previous study where we kind of looked at the whole gamut of what was available, did some very high level looks at how they would work, some high level cost estimates. From that study, we had a tentatively preferred alternative. So that this is really the next step, taking that preferred alternative and really vetting that process, getting into the nuts and bolts of how it'll work and what the waste constituents will actually be when it comes through here, and how those specific waste constituents will actually affect the existing wastewater plant. So really taking that concept and really drilling down into it. Getting more information on it, looking at the existing plant, site layouts, updated cost estimates, and also kind of taking this at a first flush past the MPCA to get their buy-in as well. So, what I would be, I can answer any questions on it. Otherwise, we'd be looking for approval to get moving on the conceptual design for that industrial pretreatment.
Then I'll read that recommendation.
Brian, a question?
Go ahead, Doug.
Brian, when this plant, when and if it gets built, is that going to alleviate the smell from their plant in town right now?
Yes, so this plant would, so there's a good question. The brewery currently has industrial wastewater pretreatment. They've had it for a number of years, and they've had some issues with it, smell being one of them. And so in our early conversations with the brewery, this is something that they wanted to essentially kind of get out of the business of the treatment of those wastes, especially because both facilities, both downtown and distribution center, are now generating waste. They would have had to do expansions and upgrades to their plant. And so that's where, through those early conversations, we talked about it would be better to have a centralized facility. So their high strength waste will go straight from where it's produced at either of the facilities directly to the city. So it should alleviate those smell issues downtown.
All right. I'll read the recommendation now. Recommendation to direct Stantec to commence the conceptual design work for the industrial wastewater pretreatment facility. I need a motion on that.
This is Doug, I'll make that motion.
Doug makes a motion. Could I get a second?
This is Jamie, I'll second.
Jamie seconds it. Any other discussion on it? Otherwise, we will vote. Shannon?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. Otherwise, that's all I had for my report, unless anyone had
right.
anything else.
Anybody got anything? I don't.
Nothing?
No. Thanks,
Nope.
Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay. Number 15, Police Department report. Chief Bloom.
Start off with just some monthly updates for April. In Cold Spring, we had 157 total incidents, 6 medical emergencies, 7 suspicious activities, 35 traffic stops with 12 citations, and then 109 miscellaneous calls for service. For Richmond, we had 74 total incidents, 3 medicals, 7 suspicious activities, 17 traffic stops with 5 citations, and then 47 miscellaneous calls for service. At the last council meeting, I talked about possibly adding a part-timer on. When I wrote this letter, as of last Thursday or Friday, we were having a hard time getting. The candidate I was looking at was Ryan Schaefer. He worked for us part-time from October of 15 till August of 2018. So he's a relatively recent part-time employee. He's currently working full-time in Meeker County. We were having an issue with getting a hold of HR down there because nobody's working from the office right now. This afternoon, we got a response from them on everything we need to update his personnel folder from when he left here. And he did leave on good terms, and I would make a recommendation to hire or put him back on the part-time list at the first step of the part-time position, which is $21.22 an hour, as long as that's okay with you guys. He's an easy individual to plug back into the roster, as he was an employee not that long ago.
We need a motion on that, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Could I get a motion to have him put, what's his name, Schaefer?
Ryan Schaefer.
Ryan Schaefer?
Yep.
I'll make a motion.
Shannon makes a motion.
This is Gary, I'll make a motion.
How about a second, Gary? Shannon just,
Yes, I will.
okay, thanks, Gary. We got a motion and a second. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you. And kind of in that same scope with everything going on, we're currently working with, we have joint powers agreements with all of the other agencies in the county, trying to get a group together to talk about, and a lot of the metro area departments are doing it, where if something would happen that a lot of the members of a department would go out and they need help covering, how we would work that schedule for officers from outside the area to go in and take emergency calls and do what needs to be done until that department can get back up to full staff. So hopefully we never need to use it, but trying to have something in place that if it did occur, all the areas in Stearns County would be supported.
Okay.
So we're working through that currently, and hopefully before too long we have something in place that is a working model. And also with that, on our end, looking at what it would look like if we had to stagger our shifts with, so there wasn't much interaction between officers to try and stop any contamination between officers. Whether, you know, a day shift and a night shift, and then run a set of days on, set of days off, and what those options are. So trying to be prepared for worst case scenario with the hope that we never have to get there. So that's kind of what we're working on right now, and if anybody has questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, that's kind of what I had.
Anybody got questions for Jason?
And for me,
Thank you.
Like it. All right. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, number 16, fire truck discussion. Chief Dan Weber. Are you on yet, Dan?
He was there.
Oh, yeah, there you are. Yes.
Yes.
yep.
All right. Yes.
Thanks for this wonderful way of a meeting. Did you guys did they get a
Yep,
copy of the proposal?
yes.
There was a truck committee of myself, Brian Peters, Matt Hesse, and Cassidy Dingman that went and got McQueen Emergency to give us a quote on a new fire truck, 2021 fire truck. There's a lot of things that are into that
Doug, you want to mute again?
expensive. And it's quite an expensive truck, but I just want to, I know, and we've been trying for about the last 4 or 5 years to try to get a grant through the FEMA grant, but we have not been able to get one. But this is the proposal that what we like for on the truck. Any questions? If you want me to go through it a little bit more, it's going to take about 11 to 12 months to get it. Once we order it. So quite a substantial amount of money. Like we need to go forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
The other truck, 76 is 40 years old, 44 years old. So I would like to get a council approval to start going this route.
Dan, I'm going to jump in.
I don't know what else.
No, I'm going to jump in about financing options.
Okay.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chris and I were looking at the various ways to pay for the pump. We know what the cost is through the bid. For several years, we've been collecting money. We've been putting money in away, as has the townships, and we have accumulated almost $179, a little over $179,000 of interest. That was also the fire hall and the pumper, but we figured with the we keep them in one account, so we manage that interest all together, and we thought putting the interest towards the truck, all of that balance, to reduce the cost of the truck for everybody involved, would be to do that, since the 179 towards whatever happens with the fire hall it makes sense to use it towards the fire truck. The capital expense fund has that 186 for a truck. There's also a pumper fund from gambling revenue and the 4% balance that we thought. So that would bring it down from 648,729 to 209,47, which would be the amount we'd need to figure out borrowing. Most likely an interfund loan, and then we would just discuss as the contract talks with the as the agreements we have with each township states, we'll have a discussion with them about their contribution towards large capital, and so it would be that amount that we'd be using to figure out that 209.47 to talk to them about. That's what we need to finance between the four of us in some fashion, but it's not the full 648.
Yeah. It's a 209 that we'd be borrowing.
Correct.
Go ahead, Doug. Sounds like,
Yeah, I guess just to clarify, so the 209 is what we borrowed, and the rest of the buffer we have in funds already, correct?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need a motion to go ahead with this?
Yeah, you'll need a motion to approve him ordering it.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve Dan to order the truck?
This is Gary, I'll make a motion.
Gary makes a motion. How about a second?
This is Jamie, I'll second.
Jamie seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, we'll vote on it. Shannon?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion passes.
Thanks, Council and Mayor.
Yep. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for everything you do.
I have one other thing before we go to the next part of the agenda. I don't know, I would imagine most of you have heard, but it has been a crappy year this year. So with the crud going around, we had announced yesterday that Firefest will be postponed until July 31st of 2021. It's just not going to be feasible to get enough people there
Yeah.
in July to go that route. So we've been talking with our sponsors, and we sent out emails to our people that have bought tickets already, and trying to work with them if they want a refund or how they want to go about it. But we will definitely shoot for next year to hopefully get the same bands back. We had a good lineup this year, so
Yeah.
we were hoping for a good turnout, but something got in our way.
Yeah.
So
All right. Thank you.
all right, thank you, Council, Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah.
All right. Then we'll go on to number 17, City Administrator Report.
I'm going to bring other up just real quick, just so you
Okay.
know, to piggyback on Dan's announcement of
Firefest?
Firefest. I did get an email that Hometown Pride is also not happening this
Okay.
year. They're going to send out notices of that as well. And so they'll hope to be back bigger and stronger next year when we can all be together again.
Yep.
Okay, so the first one is the Fire Hall RFP. You all received several weeks ago the top 6. We got 13 total RFPs, and staff, Dan, Jason, I, and Chris went through them and based things on like how many were cost a little bit. That was our third thing. Number one was how many other buildings like ours they had built, and we did look at location and who they are, and so we recommended 6 to the Planning Commission, and then the Planning Commission reviewed them in April and came up with recommending 3 for you to interview. They narrowed it down to HMA, 5 Bugles, and BKV. And so I'm not sure what you want to do now. Do we want to wait till we can go through and interview them? Do you want to do 3? Do you want to do 2? Those are the kinds of discussions that I think you should all have. We could do interviews like this, or we could wait and see if the social distancing or the stay at home gets lifted sooner rather than later.
I don't think it's going to get sooner.
No, I don't think it's going to be Monday.
It's not. No, it's not.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
I'll just go on record to say I don't care how many we interview, but I really would like it to be in person. I mean, this is great, but there's a lot of in and out. You miss a lot of things that are being said. I mean, what Jason talked before, everything is so mumbly. And this is a big project, a lot of money. I really think we need to do face-to-face interviewing.
I would have to agree with you guys. Yes.
And I think that we would also want to have a discussion prior to the interview with all of us together, about the 3. And
Right.
then
Plus, in this fashion, they could log on. Like, if you're interviewing one, the second person could log on. That
Well,
wouldn't probably
yeah.
be a smart business move, but they could log on and see it.
depending, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
True?
so I
No.
would say that we're gonna move it to a time that we could be together
Do
and
you
do
want
it in
to?
person.
Right. Do you want to? Is 3 fine? Do you want to narrow it down, or are these 3 good? And then just wait. I'll send them out notice that they're the ones, and we're waiting till we can do in-person interviewing.
My opinion, I think we should do them all 3. All 3 of them that were chosen there. And in person. That's my personal opinion. What do you guys think?
Is that a motion?
I agree, this is Gary.
This is Doug. I agree with you, Mr. Mayor.
This is Jamie, I agree too, Mr. Mayor.
Do we need a motion on that? Because I'll make that motion then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to do that.
I'll second that for you.
Okay, Shannon. I made a motion, Shannon seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries.
The next one on your agenda was new. I put it on there yesterday. When the water lines that are now running through the Fraley and Digman property over to the business park were first designed, we had thought about coming down Greystone and then back up Greystone and by Peace Lutheran. So KB Companies gave us an easement for their section running from basically the bottom of the hill at Greystone along their property up toward Peace Lutheran. Since we're not using that anymore, he had asked that we rescind that easement, and he will give us back the check that we wrote him for that easement. And so I hadn't recorded it, which was good, but it does need to be rescinded by vote of the council.
Okay. Then I'll read a recommendation. Recommendation to approve rescinding the easement with KB Companies dated January 15th of 2020. Can I get a motion on that?
This is Jamie, I'll make a motion to approve.
Jamie makes a motion. How about a second?
This is Doug. I'll second it.
And Doug seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Gary.
Unmute.
You're muted, Doug. Gary.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yes.
All right. Gary's a yes. And I'm a yes. Motion carries.
That's all I have.
That's all you got? Okay. Number 18, list of bills and additions. Recommendation to review and accept payment of the accounts payable according to the list and supplemental list presented by city staff. I need a motion on that.
I'll make that motion.
Doug makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second that.
Shannon seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries. General questions and comments from City Council. Shannon?
I have none.
Doug?
I have nothing.
Jamie?
Nothing for me, Mayor.
Gary?
Nothing.
And I have nothing. Number 20. Next special meeting for the City Council is May 20th, 2020, and the next regular scheduled City Council meeting, May 26th, 2020. I need a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn, Mayor.
Jamie makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second that.
Doug seconds it. Any discussion? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries. Thank you guys very much.